The sandstorm had passed, but the air was still thick with smoke and heat. The sky above the war-torn moon was orange, broken by dark clouds that smelled like ash. Human medic Rourke moved carefully over the cracked ground, stepping over shattered helmets and broken weapons. The battlefield was silent now, except for the distant hum of retreating ships. He was alone, his squad already pulled out. But Rourke stayed behind not for orders, but because he always did one last walk. Not everyone got lucky in war. Some soldiers bled out slowly, missed by the rescue shuttles. He couldn't leave without checking. Then he saw it. Half buried in the dust near the sharp rocks was a massive shape. At first glance, it looked like a dead machine, too big to be alive, too still to be breathing. Its black skin was covered in dried blood and burns. Long claws were curled tight into the sand. Its chest rose weakly, just once, then stopped. Rourke froze. It wasn't a machine. It was a creature. A massive alien beast, long and powerful, with deep wounds all over its body. He'd seen these in battle reports. They were called Vraxihounds, elite killing beasts used by the Empress's army. One of these things could tear a tank in half. No human who faced one up close had lived, but something didn't make sense. Rourke squinted and stepped closer, carefully, quietly. Then he heard it. Not a growl, not a snarl, a whimper. Soft, weak, like a hurt animal. It wasn't angry. It was afraid, dying. He should have turned back. This was dangerous, stupid. But Rourke had never been the kind of man who walked away from pain. He dropped to one knee, just outside its reach, and slowly opened his medic bag. He didn't touch it yet, just looked at the wounds. The cuts were deep, burned along the edges. Plasma wounds. Some of them were infected. This beast had been left behind just like the human soldiers Rourke had tried to save. The creature's eye flickered open. A gold-red slit met his gaze. But there was no rage in it, no hunger, just confusion and pain. "It's okay," Rourke said quietly. "I'm not going to hurt you." He wasn't sure if it understood, but the beast didn't attack. It didn't move. Its breathing slowed. Almost as if listening, he reached forward very slowly and pressed a cooling salve into the open gash on its side. The beast tensed, then relaxed. It didn't make a sound this time. Step by step, wound by wound, Rourke worked. He tied a wrap around its broken leg, sealed plasma burns with antibacterial foam, cleaned the blood from its eyes. Every minute that passed, he expected it to snap, to tear his head off. But it didn't. Single quotes it just watched him, and when he finished, the beast let out a soft rattling sound like a sigh. Rourke sat back, breathing hard. "You'll make it," he said. "I think." But before he could stand up, he heard voices. Not human, alien voices. Sharp and cruel. Rourke spun around and saw a squad of black-armored soldiers stepping out of the storm's edge. Their weapons were drawn. Their armor was marked with red royal seals. High dash ranking. Too high. The lead warrior stepped forward. Her face was hidden behind a metal mask, but her voice rang out like a bell. "Who dares touch the blood of the crown?" Rourke didn't move. He kept his hands raised. "It was dying," he said calmly. "I'm a medic. That's all." The soldiers raised their rifles, but then something happened. The beast behind Rourke pushed up on its injured leg. Weakly, painfully, but it moved. And when it stood, it didn't roar. It didn't attack. It leaned forward slowly and placed its huge head against Rourke's back, like a shield. The air changed. The soldiers hesitated. One of them whispered, "It protects him." The lead warrior stepped aside. Behind her, a tall figure appeared, cloaked in shimmering black. She didn't wear a helmet. Her silver skin gleamed under the twin suns. Her eyes were cold, golden, and filled with ancient power. Everyone knelt except Rourke, who had no idea who she was. She studied the beast. Then she looked at the human. "You saved it," she said. I did, Rourke replied. It needed help. Her expression didn't change. Do you know what you've done? No, he said. She stepped forward. This creature is royal. It was bred for war. It obeys only me, she said, her voice low. But now it protects. You, she narrowed her eyes. You human, she whispered, have touched more than blood. You've touched loyalty. And that is not given lightly. Rourke said nothing. The wind blew softly. The beast still leaned against him. The Empress raised one hand. Her soldiers lowered their weapons. Then she spoke words no human had ever heard before. Take him. The chains weren't tight, but they were a message. Rourke sat in the corner of a smooth, silent chamber, no windows, no visible doors. Everything glowed soft blue, like the inside of a living star. The air smelled strange, like cold metal and something floral. A kind of artificial peace. But outside, war still existed. And he had no idea where he was. 1 minute, he was tending to a dying beast. The next, soldiers grabbed him. Not roughly, strangely careful, like he was something rare. Or dangerous. Now he waited. And then, the door opened. Not with a sound, but like the wall itself melted. Light spilled in. And she stepped through, the Empress. She wore no armor this time. Only dark robes that shimmered like oil on water. Her silver skin caught the light. Her golden eyes held no warmth. 2 soldiers stood behind her, but even they wouldn't look directly at her. Rourke did. He stood. I'm not your prisoner, he said calmly. No, she replied. You are something much more complicated. She stepped closer, slow and elegant, as if she floated. Do you know what that beast was? Rourke kept his voice steady. A living thing, wounded. I saved it. She gave a cold smile. It was not wounded. It was defeated. That matters. He said nothing. That creature, she continued, is my personal war beast. It was bred to guard me, trained to kill anyone who touches it. It has never bowed, never shown weakness. And yet, when you touched it... She paused. It whimpered. She circled him now, as if inspecting a strange weapon. Tell me, human, how did you earn its trust? I treated it like a life, Rourke said, not a tool. The Empress stopped walking. For the first time her voice softened, barely above a whisper. No one has ever healed anything of mine and lived, she said. Not because I am cruel, but because kindness is unpredictable, and the galaxy fears what it cannot predict. She looked him in the eyes, and now I fear you. Rourke's heart beat faster, but he didn't step back. Then let me go, he said. I didn't ask for this. You didn't, she agreed. But now my beast follows your scent. It disobeyed a direct neural command. It stood between you and death. She leaned in closer. You didn't just touch blood, human. You touched loyalty, and loyalty in my empire changes everything. A pause. Then the door melted open again, and in stepped the creature. But it wasn't limping anymore. Its body was wrapped in strange silver bandages that glowed faintly. And as soon as it saw Rourke, it rushed forward. The guards moved to stop it. The Empress raised her hand. Let it be. The massive beast stopped in front of Rourke, sat on its haunches, and impossibly lowered its head. A bow, not to the Empress, to him. Silence filled the chamber like thunder. Rourke stepped forward slowly and placed a hand on its fur. The Empress watched. UNMOV I need. Finally, she said. By law, you now carry my mark. Any who touches this beast now touches you. Any who harms you declares war on me. Rourke looked up sharply. That's not what I want. No, she said. But the galaxy does not care what humans want. She turned to leave, but then paused. Without facing him, she asked one final question. If I were the one wounded, bleeding and broken, would you save me too? Rourke didn't speak right away. Then, gently he said, if you were in pain, I'd help you. Even if the whole galaxy told me not to. The Empress stood very still, and then she walked out as the doors sealed behind her. The beast curled up beside Rourke and let out a slow breath. For the first time since he arrived, he wasn't alone. But deep in the halls of the ship, the Empress gave a quiet command to her war council. Begin watching Earth. Find this man's home. He will not remain a stranger. Rourke had been on alien ships before, prison barges, med transports, even a peace vessel once. But this ship was different. It didn't hum. It breathed. The walls curved like the inside of a living creature. Lights pulsed softly, like veins beneath skin. No metal clanged. No engines roared. Everything was silent, elegant, terrifying. He walked the corridors not as a prisoner, not exactly as a guest, but something else. Something unspoken. Beside him, the Empress's beast walked freely, no chains, no guards. The soldiers who passed didn't look at the human. They looked at the beast, and then lowered their heads. Even the highest warriors gave space. Rourke had started to feel like a myth. He was taken to a wide chamber, high above the stars. It was round, with a single throne in the center, built from crystal and bone. But it wasn't the throne that caught his eye. It was her. The Empress stood near a tall window, watching the stars. No guards, no armor, just silence and breath. You still won't kneel, she said, without turning. I still don't belong here, Rourke replied. She slowly turned to face him. And yet here you are, alive, respected, followed by a creature that once tore generals in half. The beast sat beside Rourke, tail flicking like a lazy dog. I didn't ask it to follow me, he said. You didn't need to, she replied. That's what makes it dangerous. She stepped closer. You confuse my people. A human touching one of our war beasts. Being protected by it, no one knows what to think. I didn't do it for politics, Rourke said. It was bleeding. I helped. The Empress studied him. You speak like a simple man, she said. But you have done something no one else has. And that makes you inconvenient. Rourke narrowed his eyes. Are you here to threaten me? No, she said. I'm here to understand you. She walked slowly around the room, her voice softer than before. I've ruled for 300 years. I've ordered the death of kings. I've seen sons die under my command. But I have never, not once, seen loyalty grow without fear. She paused. The beast chooses you. And? Rourke asked. And now I must choose too. She raised her hand. A floating orb appeared in the air, spinning gently. Inside, it was a tiny image. Earth, his home. I've already begun scanning your world. Do you know why? Rourke shook his head slowly. Because wherever you came from, she said, I need to know if others like you exist. He took a breath. What if they do? She smiled faintly. Then I must decide if they're a threat or a cure. The silence grew. Then, something unexpected happened. A young alien entered the chamber, barely more than a child, shaking. Afraid, she wore the robes of a lower healer. Clearly not meant to be here. Forgive me, Empress, she stammered. I brought the report on the beast's neural activity. The Empress turned calmly. Approach. The girl stepped forward, trembling, holding a glowing tablet. Speak, the Empress said. The beast's neural pathing is changed, the girl whispered. It no longer follows its original commands. It does not respond to punishment or hunger. It has attached itself to the human. The Empress asked. The girl nodded. Explain. The girl swallowed. It no longer thinks like a weapon. It feels safe. It responds to his voice before yours. It would die for him. Long silence. Then the Empress asked, would you die for him? The healer looked at Rourke, confused. I don't know him. Exactly, the Empress said coldly. But the beast does. And now my empire is watching this man. Some want to honor him. She paused. Some want to dissect him. Rourke. Step forward. If you're going to kill me, just say it. She looked at him not with anger, but with something else. Something almost human. I don't want you dead, she said. Then what do you want? She stepped closer. To understand why a creature who obeys no one follows a human who has nothing. Rourke shook his head. That beast isn't the only one who was alone. The words hung in the air. The Empress said nothing. Then, slowly, she reached out, not to him, but to the beast. It growled. Rourke held up a hand. Easy. The beast quieted. The Empress stared at him like he had just spoken a command. In her own language, then she turned to her guards and gave a new order. From now on, the human is no longer a subject or a guest. He is to be watched, but protected. He may walk the halls, and no one lays hands on him without my word. Rourke blinked. Why the change? She looked at him, her voice low and strange. Because, she said, I once built loyalty through fear, but you've done it through kindness. And I want to know what else you can break. Rourke didn't notice the change at first. He had been on the Empress's ship for 6 days, fed, guarded, watched like a puzzle no one knew how to solve. Soldiers avoided him. Servants whispered. The beast followed him through the halls like a silent shadow. But something was wrong. The air felt heavier, colder. On the 7th day, the ship stopped moving. No lights blinked. No footsteps echoed. The usual pulse of the living vessel slowed. Rourke found one of the alien guards slumped against the wall, panting. Purple veins pulsed under his skin. Then came the alert. A low chime that sent every soldier to their knees. Empress had collapsed. The throne room was sealed. Inside, her most trusted warriors paced like caged animals. No one dared touch her. No one knew how. She lay on the crystal throne, pale and barely breathing. Her skin shimmered with fever. Her hands trembled. And her golden eyes, those terrifying, ancient eyes, were glassy with pain. Every healer had tried. None succeeded. Every medicine made it worse. The ship's eye whispered one word across every terminal. Unknown pathogen. Rourke heard the message. From the beast. It had whined and pressed its face to a sealed door. That was how he knew. Without waiting for permission, Rourke barged into the medical chamber. 2 guards drew their weapons, but the beast stepped between them. And Rourke again, and this time it growled. The guards froze. Rourke walked past, heart pounding. The chamber was dim. Silver gas drifted like mist. Machines hissed. The Empress lay still, her breathing shallow. He stepped to her side. Her skin felt like fire. Her heartbeat was scattered. A female healer backed away. You can't help. She's royal. You're human, Rourke said. Exactly. He looked around at the tools. Alien tech. Scanners. Serums. Tubes. All too advanced for someone who learned medicine with bandages and plasma gel. Still, he knelt down and opened his own bag. Just old human tools. Gauze. Fluids. Antibiotics. He pulled off his gloves. Help me, he said to the alien healer. She hesitated. Please, he added. That word please, they weren't used to it. She nodded slowly. Together, they worked. Used a thermal needle to draw a blood sample. It fizzed in the vial. Alien pathogens mixed with nanites. He didn't understand the chemistry, but he saw the symptoms. It was eating her nervous system. He didn't have a cure, but he had instinct. He started with fluids, human force setup. Stabilized the heart. Lowered the fever. The alien healer adjusted the chamber temp to match Earth norms. The Empress's breathing eased. Then came the hard part. There was one treatment he'd used before, on a soldier with burned lungs. It wasn't meant for aliens, but she was dying, and no one else was trying. Rourke filled the injector with oxygen boost serum. His hands shook. You sure? The healer whispered. No. He pressed the needle into her neck. Seconds passed. Chest rose. Then fell. Then suddenly, her fingers switched out. The beast behind him let out a soft, vibrating hum. Her golden eyes blinked open slow, confused. She looked around, weak and dazed. Then she saw him, human. She whispered, "You're okay," Rook said softly. "You were fading. I had to try something." She looked at the tube in her arm, at the strange bandage over her chest, at the human gear. "You saved me?" "I think so," he said. "Why?" Rourke smiled tiredly. "Because someone had to." The room stayed silent. Then, something no one expected happened. The Empress tried to sit up. She couldn't, but she reached out. Her hand, shaking, touched his, not as a ruler, not as a warrior, but as a woman, breathing because of him. "Everyone fears me," she said. "They bow, they obey, but you treat me like I'm just another patient." "I treat you like someone worth saving," Rourke said. Her voice cracked. "Then you're a fool." He laughed softly. "Maybe." A long silence, then she closed her eyes and whispered, "Don't leave." He squeezed her hand. "I won't." The beast curled around the throne again, this time facing outward, as if guarding both of them. And outside the chamber, the royal soldiers were silent, because the human hadn't just saved the Empress. He'd done what none of them dared. He'd touched her pain, and she let him. When Rourke woke up, he wasn't in the medical chamber anymore. He was lying on a soft bed made of woven vines that pulsed with gentle warmth. A golden light poured from the ceiling, too soft to be a sun, too alive to be artificial. The room was quiet. Then came the voice. "She's awake." Rourke turned. A young alien woman stood in the corner. Her armor was light, ceremonial, and her head bowed low. "She wants to see you," the girl said. "No guards this time?" Rourke asked. "You don't need them anymore," she said. He followed her through a hallway carved from crystal and bone. Everything glowed with quiet breath. But this time, soldiers didn't block his path. They stepped aside. Some even bowed. Felt like a myth. When he entered the royal chamber, the Empress was standing now. Still weak, leaning slightly on a curved metal staff, but standing. Her robe shimmered. Her eyes, golden as ever, locked on him. "You're late," she said. "I didn't know I was expected," Rourke replied. She smiled faintly. "You're not a guest anymore." Rourke raised an eyebrow. "Then what am I?" The answer came not from her, but from the chamber doors slamming open behind him. A tall, stern alien male in silver robes entered. His voice echoed as he spoke. "By law of the High Crown, this human has committed an ancient act. He has touched the sacred body of the Empress during her weakness. He has changed her fate. By our code, he now belongs to the throne." Rourke blinked. "Excuse me?" "You are royal property," the man said coldly. "You saved her life. She carries your touch. She bears your medicine in her blood. You are now bound to the throne." Rourke turned to the Empress. "Is that true?" She looked at him for a long moment. Then softly she said, "Yes." He stepped back. "I didn't agree to this." The man in silver snapped. "Consent is irrelevant. The law is ancient. It cannot be broken." "I'm not a thing to be owned," Rourke said. The room grew tense. The guards in the corners shifted their weight. The beast lying beside the throne lifted its head. Sensing the heat rising in Rourke's chest, the Empress took a slow breath. "Leave." "U.S.," she told her court. One by one, they hesitated, then obeyed. The chamber emptied. She looked at him. No crown, no mask. "Just her. I didn't ask for this either," she said. "But in our world, loyalty leaves a mark. What you did saving my beast, healing me, those are not small acts. Our laws bind souls to debt, and now they see you as mine." "I'm not yours," Rourke said softly. "I helped because it was right, not for reward, not for this." She stepped closer, her voice quiet. "Then what do you want?" He was silent. Outside, the stars burned cold. "I want to be free," he said. She nodded slowly. Then I will. Try to unbind you. I will face the council. I will break the law. You'd do that? He asked. Her eyes searched his face. You touched my blood and didn't flinch. You faced death beside me. You gave warmth where others gave fear. She placed her hand on his chest, just above his heart. I am feared across galaxies, but you never feared me. Rourke said nothing. Her hand was warm. Then the door burst open again. Not a soldier. Not a councilman. The beast. It ran past the guards, growling deep, and stopped in front of Rourke. Its tail was high, its shoulders wide, and for the first time it bared its teeth, not at him, but at the soldiers behind. What's happening? Rourke asked. The Empress turned sharply. The council doesn't want you free. They're here to claim you by force. A squad stepped into the room, armed and ready. They aimed not at the Empress, but at Rourke. Do not resist, one of them warned. You are now royal material. You will be studied, trained, and controlled. Rourke didn't move, but the beast did. It stepped forward. Between him and the weapons, its fur stood on end. Its claws clicked on the floor. And it let out a deep, echoing snarl. The Empress raised her staff, but not to stop the beast, to join it. Her voice rang like thunder. Any who touch this human again will be cast from the bloodline. I will destroy anyone who dares claim him. The guards froze. Because for the first time in centuries, the Empress had taken a side not for power, not for politics, but for a man who had nothing except kindness. The palace ship had never been this loud. Sirens howled through the bone walls. Lights flashed red. Guards ran through curved corridors with rifles drawn. Soldiers shouted in 5 languages. Shields snapped into place around the throne wing. In the center of it all, Rourke stood frozen, one hand on the beast's fur, while the Empress barked orders to her high command. This is not a drill, she snapped. An assassin team is aboard. How did they get in? A general asked. Internal betrayal, she replied coldly. They knew where I'd be. Rourke stepped forward. Then they're not after your empire, he said. They're after you. She nodded once. And now you too. He looked around. The beast was growling low, its golden eyes narrowed, muscles tense. It felt it coming. Let me help, Rourke said. No, she snapped. You're not a soldier. I'm not staying behind. She hesitated, but saw it in his eyes. The same thing the beast had seen. Not power. Not pride. Loyalty. Double quotes. Then don't leave my side, she said. They moved together through the main hall, a vast space of silver statues and glowing walls. The Empress took the center. Guards flanked her on both sides. Rourke and the beast followed. Close. And then the attack came, from the ceiling. Shadows dropped like rain, cloaked in void black armor. They moved fast, silent, trained to kill without sound. Plasma blades hissed in their hands. The first 2 were gunned down by her guards. The next 3 cut through 2 warriors and lunged straight for the Empress. And Rourke moved. Without thinking, he grabbed her shoulder and pulled her back. A blade slashed through the air and struck him instead. The world slowed. He didn't feel the pain. Right away, he just heard her voice. No. He hit the floor hard. The breath knocked from his lungs. His chest burned, wet and warm. His shirt soaked red. Another assassin charged. But the beast roared and tore him apart. The rest tried to flee. The Empress herself raised her hand, and a storm of violet fire flew from her palm, ripping through the last of them. Silence. Smoke. Rourke blinked, barely conscious. The Empress dropped beside him, pressing her hands to his wound. Why? She whispered. Why would you shield me? He smiled faintly, blood on his lips. Because you needed someone to care. And I do. Her hand trembled against his chest. You're dying, she said. You fool, you human fool. I've seen worse, he muttered. No, she whispered, you haven't. She turned to her guards, voice like thunder. Summon. The Lifebinders, now. But the beast suddenly leaned in, blocking them. It let out a long, low moan. And then something strange happened. Its paw slid across the floor until it touched Rourke's wound. There was a crackle of energy. The Empress gasped. The beast's fur glowed faint blue. And so did the cut on Rourke's chest. The bleeding slowed. His eyes fluttered. What? What's happening? He breathed. The Empress stared in awe. The beast is sharing its lifeblood, she whispered. It's never done this before, not even for me. Rourke looked up at her, dazed. Guess. I'm special. She grabbed his hand tightly. You don't get to die, do you hear me? You saved my life. Now let me save yours. The healing. Light from the beast grew stronger. And then everything went white. When Rourke opened his eyes again, he was in her private chamber. The room smelled of lavender and metal. His chest was bandaged. He could breathe. It hurt, but he was alive. The Empress sat beside him. Her crown lay on the table. Her hand rested on his. She didn't speak. Neither did he. They just looked at each other. Finally, she whispered, You stepped in front of a blade that was meant for a god. He smiled weakly. No, just for a woman. She closed her eyes, and when she opened them again, her voice was different, quieter, real. I've conquered systems, burned fleets, but today. A human with no weapon made me feel more protected than any army. Rourke tried to sit up. She gently held him down. You're safe now, she said. Then she leaned closer and whispered, You belong to no throne. But I may soon belong to you. The stars outside the window looked different now. Not brighter, not closer. Just quieter. As if the galaxy itself was waiting. Rourke stood in the middle of a grand hall carved from living crystal, watching the twin moons spin slowly over the horizon. His bandages were gone. His shirt was new. His body had healed, but something inside him still hurt. Not from the wound, from what came after. He had expected to be thrown back to Earth, forgotten, or turned into some royal pet, but instead, something strange had happened. The galaxy had bowed. The Council of Nine Worlds had issued a declaration. The human Rourke, protector of the crown, shall no longer be classified as off-world material. He's to be recognized as one of us. They gave him titles, medals, world rights. They called him things he never wanted. The Wounded Flame, the Beast Whisperer. The Empress's shield. Alien species sent envoys just to look at him. Some asked for his blood. Others asked for his secrets. A few bowed in tears and begged forgiveness for how they once saw humans weak, slow, primitive, but none of it mattered to Rourke. He kept asking only one thing: where is the beast? He found it days later, resting in the garden temple of the Empress's vessel. Strange flowers bloomed around it, white, glowing, warm to the touch. The beast lay curled up near a tree that breathed slowly, like it was dreaming. When it saw Rourke, it rose and walked toward him without sound. He knelt. Double quotes, Hey you. The beast bumped its head against his shoulder, then lowered itself beside him. Rourke scratched its ear. You saved me too. Don't think I forgot. It blinked once, then lay its head on his lap. For the first time in weeks, Rourke closed his eyes and smiled, not because of power, not because of the throne, but because he was finally home. Later that evening, the Empress appeared without warning. No crown, no guards, just her, wrapped in a soft robe, her hair down, her eyes calm. Rourke stood slowly. I was starting to think you were avoiding me, he said. She tilted her head. Would it matter? He looked at her for a long moment. Only if I was wrong about you. She stepped closer. And what do you think I am? He answered without hesitation. Tired. That made her pause. Everyone calls you Empress. Warrior, death-bringer. But I think you're just someone who got used to being alone. Rourke said. Until one day, someone touched your life, not with power, just kindness. She looked away, then she spoke quietly. I told my generals. I wanted no throne for a day, she whispered. Just a name, and? Rourke asked. She stepped closer, eyes locking onto his. I want to know what name you would give me. He smiled gently. I don't know your real one. You'll be the first to hear it, she said. She leaned forward, and in a voice not meant for soldiers or kings or war, she whispered her name. Soft, foreign, beautiful. Rourke repeated it carefully. That's yours? She nodded. No title, she said. Just me. Then she reached out, hand trembling slightly, and touched his face. I have galaxies at my feet, she said. But I would give it all for a man who saw me when I was broken. The stars outside blinked. Silence passed between them. Then she asked, Do you want to stay? Rourke looked at the beast, now curled beside them in the warm grass. Then he looked at her and gave the only answer that mattered. Only if I don't have to bow. She laughed, a real laugh, not cruel, not royal. And with that, she whispered something sacred in her language, a vow spoken only once in a lifetime. Then she said, in his language, then kneel to no one, human. Just walk beside me. They sat together beneath the twin moons, the war beast guarding them in silence, and the galaxy, once ruled by fear, now whispered the name of the man who changed everything, not with fire, not with blood, but with his hands and his heart.